Thank you for coming to see my talk, and thank you for being so welcoming to me since I'm basically a hobbyist and this is a passion project. So I feel certain that most of the people in this room know more about Django than me, and I'm going to take advantage of that during the question and answer session to pick your brains to try to solve some of the problems that I'm running into with this project. To begin, what I put on my name badge for the conference and what I feel like are my qualifications for this presentation are that I call myself a mom and inventor, but I don't think that those are requirements to do a project like this. What I mean when I say that is really just that the only qualifications that I have are that I was passionate about this problem and curious enough to keep trying to find ways to solve it every time I would run into an obstacle. One of my children, Malcolm, has autism with language delay, and he has been in speech therapy since he was 2, and he's 7 now. He still has a really hard time forming words, and he uses a tablet type device at school to communicate. And so really, that's where my passion for the project came from, was trying to find a way to help him and to also help other parents that were facing the same sort of situation, because I don't know which slide it's on here, but the devices that are available on the market are really expensive. The one that we were recommended to get is just over $6,000 US. And when I was trying to figure out how we were going to buy this, I was Googling, thinking, well, surely somebody's got like a knockoff version or like a generic version or an open source version, and there wasn't that I could find. And so that's how this all started, was I just want there to be a version that people can do themselves. There has to be an alternative. There has to be a version that people can make themselves so that they're not pressured into spending this money. So AAC stands for Augmentative and Alternative Communication Device. And I had never heard of them before, except with regards to Stephen Hawking, who used a speech-generating device to speak towards the end of his life. And there's this clip from The Simpsons where he appears that I think is really great. And this, so I'm going to play it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I must apologize. This man does not speak for the Council of Alphas. We hold you sub-omeguloids in the highest regard.
When are we going to get to my broccoli juice program?
Quit butting in, please. Your IQ is a mere 155, while mine is a muscular 170. I am smart, much smarter than you. Hibbert!
You should all do what I say. My IQ is 199 for crying out loud. 198, 197.
Big deal. My IQ is 280.
Stephen Hawking, the world's smartest man.
What are you doing here?
I wanted to see your utopia, but now I see it as more of a fruitopia.
I'm sure what Dr. Hawking means is...
Silence. I don't need anyone to talk for me, except this voice box. You have clearly been corrupted by power. For shame.
Larry Flint is right! You guys stink!
I don't know which is the bigger disappointment. My failure to formulate a unified field theory, or you.
I don't like your tone.
If you are looking for trouble, you found it.
Yeah, just try me, you...
Oh! Now's our opening! Come on, you idiots! We're taking back this town!
Yeah, let's make litter out of these literati.
That's too clever. You're one of them.
Please stay calm, everyone.
Time for this hog to fly. Wrong button.
Lisa, thank God you're okay.
Did you have fun with your robot buddy?
Dad! Oh, Dr. Hawking, we had such a beautiful dream. What went wrong?
Don't feel bad, Lisa. Sometimes the smartest of us can be the most childish.
Even you?
No, not me. Never.
I guess everyone has a different vision for the perfect world. Wow, Mom, that's very profound.
Hey, you read that off my screen.
Who's up for some beers?
I am.
That's the smartest thing I've heard all day. Your theory of a donut-shaped universe is intriguing, Homer. I may have to steal it.
Wow, I can't believe someone I never heard of is hanging out with a guy like me.
All right, it's closing time. Who's paying the tab?
I am.
I didn't say that.
Yes, I did. Dope.
All right, so when my son was diagnosed with autism with language delay and his speech therapist said we need to get a talking machine, I thought, okay, cool, he'll be like Stephen Hawking. And it turns out there are a lot of different kinds of speech generating devices, and some of them are specifically geared toward preschool age kids, and they use icons or cartoon-like symbols instead of text-to-speech or typing. And the reason that these machines are cool is because it assumes a high level of competence from the children. It's possible to just have like some laminated index cards that you keep on a keychain in your pocket to do rudimentary communication with people who don't know you. But how many cards can you really keep in your pocket? If you've got a digital device, then you could have tens of thousands of words at your disposal. And his speech therapist was really keen on that because she wanted to give him as many opportunities to express himself as possible instead of starting out with a limited vocabulary. And also, these machines in general are customizable. You can mask out different icons if you only use certain ones, or you can put in pictures that are specific to your family, but they are really expensive. So when I was thinking about this problem, how there are these really expensive medical devices that people need, and I was looking around my house, I noticed that we have all these toys that do generate speech. And so I did a little demo here of a few of them.
I love you so much.
D-O-G. That spells dog. B-E-A. R. That spells bear.
Animals. An octopus turns white when it's scared.
And this leap pad toy in particular,
Let's play Guess the Animal.
Malcolm taught himself the whole
Push the
alphabet
matching
and all the
letter
animals, all the names of the animals and how to spell the names of the animals with that thing. So
Keep trying.
that was a good toy. But it was like less than $30. And so
Push the matching letter, but keep trying. Well done.
that's what I just keep coming back to, is this idea, what's the difference between a toy and a medical device? And the main difference that I can see is that the speech therapy devices, primarily the words are mostly nouns, no, mostly verbs. Mostly like a toy, the words are mostly I'm so nervous. On toys, the words are mostly nouns, like the names of animals or the names of colors. And then in the speech therapy devices, it's mostly verbs because that's what people use to speak in natural language. And so this idea that was the basis of this project is just imagine if every child could have an AAC as affordable and rugged as a toy. So I set about building one, and I used Django, and I wrote some source code which is available on GitHub, and then for the hardware, I was basically doing everything I could to avoid just making an app. I'm trying to make this an embedded system, a standalone device. So I used a Raspberry Pi with touchscreen and speakers and battery. And in the Django Girls tutorial, there is some really helpful troubleshooting for installing Django on Debian. So I wanted to highlight that because that is an error that occurs when you're trying to load Django on a Raspberry Pi. And then what I wind up doing is just running the development server as the production environment. So here's the part where I start asking you for help. This is currently what I have, and it seems to work pretty well on Chrome, but it doesn't work in other browsers, and so I think there might be some sort of JavaScript thing that I'm doing wrong. So if anybody wants to make a pull request about that, I would love it. It's just basically looping through a dictionary of JPEGs, and then on mouse down, whenever you touch them on the touch screen, it plays an associated MP3 file. So my GitHub username is amendment19 if anybody wants to go look at the repo. And here I'm going to talk through a little demo handling of the, oh wow, that's loud. So you can see the micro USB is where the Raspberry Pi gets power, and then there are regular USB slots. The SD card is where the operating system resides. And in order to do all this setup, you have to plug in a keyboard and mouse. There is a way to add reference the script that you want to execute on startup in the RC local file, and then specify it to run in kiosk mode so that it'll just automatically start running your app whenever you power it on. And then that white thing is the battery that I found on Adafruit. And the 3.5 millimeter jack is the default sound output for the Raspberry Pi, but I can't get the sound to be very loud, and when I've been researching this, it sounds like it's a generally accepted flaw in the system that port is kind of underpowered, so you can't get the sound very loud of it. I've been trying to create an amplifier that would let me use stereo enclosed speakers, but it adds a lot of bulk to the project. Also, I've looked at shields that would go on, like AmpHat or other Raspberry Pi shields that have an amplifier in them, but it's interfering with the pins that are used for the touchscreen. So if anybody is into hardware tinkering and you have some ideas on how I could improve that, I'm definitely all ears. This just shows what's in the cloned project folder, the same things that are usually in a Django project. And then in this part of the demo, I'm just spinning up the development server. And it seems to be pretty stable. I just run the development server on the Raspberry Pi, and it works fine for as long as I'm using it. So since it's a self-contained system, I'm not really very worried about a threat model. It's mostly just will it work without failing, and it seems to be working just fine for what I'm using it for. And this is a Raspberry Pi 3, so it comes with Wi-Fi built in, so I was able to
Hi. Hi.
So I was able to pip install Django easily. The first time I tried to build it on Raspberry Pi 2, which does not come with Wi-Fi, and I thought, oh, I can just copy over every single one of those little tiny files, those little tiny egg files from Django, and that didn't ever work. So, if anybody knows a way to do that, I'm still curious as to why I couldn't get it to work. But so I don't know if we have time to show the contest video. I was looking for a deadline, like an enforced deadline, and so I entered the Hackaday prize competition last year, which had a whole segment of assistive technology projects, and it was really fun, and I didn't make it into the semifinals, but I did meet a lot of people who were also working on assistive technology projects, and the community there is really neat. There are lots of people who are willing to help, and so if you want to find me on Hackaday, my username is Muriel G, and if you're interested in building your own hardware, software projects, they have that contest every year, and there are cash prizes, and there's also like a fellowship for the grand prize. So it's, I mean, like, there's a prizes that are really exciting and worth winning. Okay, so I want to demo the interface really quick. Like I said, it seems to work better in Chrome. So if you want to look at it on your phone, this is live on Python Anywhere, murielg.pythonanywhere.com. And so these icons are, I drew them, but I copied them from a speech therapy icon set called Unity. So like I was saying, they're mostly verbs because they're designed to help children learn how to put together syntactically correct language. So the icons aren't, they're really abstract, but the kids get used to them, like this bucket of water. Is just means is, and then the bucket of water that's in the process of spilling over. Were. And then the bucket of water that already spilled. Was. And then more everyday concepts. Work. Have. Feel. So I have a prototype, as you've seen in the video, but it's a works-like prototype, so it's pretty ugly, and I'm trying to find ways to make it smaller, and I've tried a lot of different ways to build enclosures for it. I'm not very good at 3D printing or designing things on Tinkercad, so I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time learning a whole nother skill set just to build an enclosure, so I actually built enclosures out of Legos and just super glued them together, and that worked really well because it was way faster. I could iterate way faster. And also sewing like stuffed animals, like just kind of stuffing it into a stuffed animal, that worked well too. So one of my main goals with this talk was to encourage people who already have developer skills to choose passion projects or portfolio pieces that are assistive in some way. According to the 2010 census, nearly 19% of the civilian non-institutionalized population of America lives with some sort of disability. So here are the numbers: 56 million people have a disability according to the census, and 12% of the population are living with a severe disability that impacts their ability to do day-to-day activities that a lot of people take for granted. And so I feel fairly certain that everybody in this room already knows someone with a disability. And so I would encourage you to think about how you can use your skills to help. Just talk to them and find out what they need and then just make it. Yeah, I think my only reference was the census citation there, if you want to look that up. And if you want to get in touch with me, here's my email and GitHub and Hackaday profile. And I'd be happy to take questions for the rest of the time.
Hey, first of all, I thought that was an incredible talk.
Thanks.
Thank you. And this may already be a suggestion which is going against your request of it just staying within Python. So apologies
okay.
if this is unhelpful. There is a JavaScript library called P5.js,
Okay.
which is the most recent version of something that was originally kind of on top of Java called literally processing.
Okay.
Which is a terrible name because if you just Google processing, you'll see a million other things. But it was, it's been used for interactions, visual, audio.
Oh, okay.
And the P5 new version is trying to be much more mobile. I don't know how well that would apply to a Raspberry Pi. I would have thought interface-wise that would be applicable. But it's also if the possibility of having I guess, a website that could be
Sure.
applicable outside just a handheld thing, that's a library that might be worth having a peek at.
Okay, yeah.
And I would be more than happy to show you some stuff that I've done with that.
Yeah, excellent. You should give me your email address. And I'm not totally averse to making this into an app or a mobile site. I really liked the Kivy presentation yesterday. I don't know if that guy is in here, but I'm going to look into that too. So P5 also. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm just wondering if we're going to go about, like, you know, addressing some of these issues, what are some places that we can find like resources or just like maybe places where people have like voiced needs in this community and like where things aren't being addressed necessarily? Like, I know you said in your talk there was something like there wasn't like but anyway, sorry, totally forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, is there any like places where we could go to find out like needs that aren't being addressed, or there just like is only one product out there?
I'm trying to think of the people who were, the organizations that were encouraging to me, support groups, like parent support groups. Also, there's a speech therapy organization called ASHA. And both of my younger sons went to a speech therapy preschool. So I know there are, those exist, preschools that are specifically for, actually I think a lot of public schools have special ed preschools in the public school too, because of, they start providing services at age 3 because of the IDEA Act.
What sort of feedback have you gotten from your son in comparison to like the $6,000 devices?
Yeah, he's my tester. And really the most exciting thing about this project is he's more interested in the hardware now, so it's almost turning into like I would love for it to be the sort of thing that he can see what I'm doing and then do something better himself someday. Like, that's why I want to stick with the Raspberry Pi instead of like getting smaller and doing like an RTOS-based board with a dedicated microcontroller, because I would love for it to be the sort of thing that autistic people can do themselves and just have the instructions out there on the internet that are really easy to follow.
All right, and on behalf of a very thankful conference, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We'd like to send you home with some treats.